Welcome to Name That Voice, a series where we discuss all things voice-related. If you haven't already, please watch our previous episodes from Where Our Journey Began to audiobooks, telephony, e-learning, and whiteboard animation. Today, we are here with yet another episode of our series where we will talk about the newer technologies that have made the need for voiceovers popular. And before moving on, kindly like, comment, and subscribe for more content. As we have skimmed through the history of voiceovers in our previous episodes, we have seen how uncommon the concept had been. However, with the years, the concept has grown rapidly, all thanks to the world of technology that has introduced various inventions to make that possible. I am pretty sure many of you are familiar with these inventions, or at least know their names, and if you aren't, then get ready to discover them with me. CGI, or computer-generated imagery, is one of the coolest inventions out there. It's a branch of visual effects that can create awesome settings, effects, and pictures with just software. You can use CGI in all sorts of ways, too, from subtle to overt, static to dynamic, 2D to 3D. Remember the T-Rex chasing Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park? That's an example of CGI adding animated elements into live-action movies. And it's not just for dinosaurs. You can use it to create epic battles, like in the Game of Thrones, or even make actors appear younger, like in The Irishman. With CGI, the possibilities are endless. Well, you just found out what CGI is, but do you know who discovered it? If not, let me fill you in. Once upon a time, in the groovy 1960s, a computer scientist named Ivan Sutherland created a program called Sketchpad. It lets people make and mess with images on a computer screen using a light pen. From there, CGI took off like a rocket ship. The 1990s brought us Jurassic Park and Toy Story, movies that made everyone's jaws drop with their mind-bending digital effects. And today, CGI animation is the ultimate superhero of the movie world, allowing artists to create lifelike images, effects, and settings with lightning-fast speed and precision. Whether you're watching dragons breathe fire or spaceships zoom through the stars, CGI animation makes it all possible. In the old days, animators relied on hand-drawn cells or stop-motion techniques to create these sort of movies. But CGI changed the game. With specialized software, 3D animators can create virtual models that move and bend with, again, that lightning-fast precision. This saves time, effort, and resources. Plus, CGI animations can be combined with real-world elements to really get those mind-bending effects. This is way easier than the old-school method that we had mentioned of manually incorporating cell animations into live-action footage. And best of all, CGI animation is way cheaper than the traditional animation. So even though I am a fan of the traditional animation, you really can't knock the amazing efforts of this technology. I also want to mention that there are some puppetry and real effects that can also be used and were also used in conjunction with the CGI. But again, that also takes time, and sometimes you can tell that they don't act as realistic as a CGI face can be. So as an example, let's look at Toy Story. It cost a mere $30 million to make, compared to The Lion King's $45 million. With all these advantages, it's no wonder CGI has taken over the movie world. The other greatest savior of the movie industry is computer animation. A stylized cartoon-like appearance is produced by computer animation using the cell shading technique. It functions by coloring the 3D object outlines to provide the appearance of a two-dimensional cell animation. Many video games and animated series have used this technique in recent years to produce a distinctive visual aesthetic. Compared to the antiquated process of hand-drawn cells or stop-motion techniques, it is far quicker and more effective. The finest part is that real-world components may be added to computer animation to create stunning special effects. Now, get ready to really be blown away by the big guns of the CGI animation industry. Companies like Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, and Paramount have been creating blockbuster movies that we've grown up watching. The first full-length computer-animated movie, as well as the first of its sort to be made by Pixar, was indeed Toy Story, which Disney published in 1995. CGI became more common thanks to the film's success, which marked the start of an era of animated filmmaking. On the other hand, the success of Shrek, which demonstrated the studio's use of CGI animation and featured great performers like Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Cameron Diaz, helped DreamWorks establish itself as a prominent player in Hollywood. They kept churning out blockbusters like How to Train Your Dragon, one of my personal favorites, and Kung Fu Panda, further solidifying their position in the industry. Meanwhile, the animated film Rango by Paramount, which won the 2012 Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, created a stir. The movie used CGI, and among the voice actors were Johnny Depp, Isla Fisher, and Bill Nighy, not Bill Nye the Science Guy. The accomplishment of these businesses has been significantly influenced by voice acting. Tom Hanks, Ellen DeGeneres, and Samuel L. Jackson are just a few of the outstanding voice performances who have worked with Pixar on numerous occasions. I am going to discuss in a later episode the impact that movie stars moving into the voiceover industry speciality has had as an effect on those who only do specialized voiceover. But for now, we'll just leave that at that. In order to give their animated characters life, DreamWorks has also depended on outstanding actors turned voice actors like Jack Black, Angelina Jolie, and Gerard Butler. Hold on tight, gamers, because we're about to uncover a fun fact. Did you know that video games played a big role in making voiceovers mainstream? That's right. The history of video games and voiceovers are intertwined. And speaking of history, who do you think created the very first video game? William Higginbotham's Tennis for Two in 1958 and Steve Russell's Space War in 1962 set the foundation for video games. I bet you were going to say Pong. Yet it wasn't until the introduction of home consoles in 1970s that the video gaming business really took off. The Brown Box, a prototype multi-program gaming system created by Ralph Baer, the father of video games, in 1967, was licensed to Magnavox in 1972 and became the Odyssey console. Even though the Odyssey was a commercial failure, Atari was motivated by it to develop the first arcade video game, Pong, in the same year. Then, in 1975, Atari introduced a version of Pong for home use. Later, in 1977, the company unveiled the Atari 2600 machine, which launched the second generation of video game consoles. What mind-blowing inventions by these legends! Wonder how video games were given voice and sound effects? As the popularity of the video game business increased, game designers started including music and sound effects in their creations to improve the overall gaming experience. Simple beeps and bloops were employed in the early video games to denote various activities. But as technology improved, so did the sound effects in music. The invention of speech synthesis processors in the 1980s made it possible to produce simple voiceovers for these video games. In 1980, Speak and Spell, which employed a speech synthesizer to enunciate words, was perhaps the first game to include voiceovers. With the introduction of games like Wing Commander, Mortal Kombat, Full Throttle, and Day of the Tentacle, which included digitized voice samples, voiceovers became more prevalent in the 1990s. Adding to that, the NES console from Nintendo helped popularize video game music in the 1980s, when tunes like the Super Mario Bros. Theme became well known. If you made it to here, you earned a bonus fact. Are you aware? The popular game Grand Theft Auto 5 had over 1,000 actors and more than 80,000 lines of recorded dialogue, making it one of the most massive voice acting projects in entertainment history. Crazy, right? I would not have guessed it was Grand Theft Auto. In today's modern video games, TV shows, and films, voice acting is a common feature. Big-name celebrities are routinely hired to provide the voices for animated characters because of digital animation. With Robin Williams' endearing performance as the genie in Aladdin, the trend toward using famous actors as voice actors got started. Video games could finally use voice acting with the introduction of CD-ROMs, enabling more immersive storytelling. The voice of Mario's catchphrase, "It's-a me, Mario," was provided by Charles Martinet, a well-known character in the gaming world. I also got to sort of meet him, and he is a wonderful man. Troy Baker, Nolan North, and Jennifer Hale are just a few of the highly regarded and in-demand voice actors of today. And don't worry, they will all have their own individual episode in the what I call Season 2 of this series, which will only occur if interest is shown in this series. So that's why you liking and commenting on the video, sharing it with your friends, downloading it as a podcast really helps me see if people enjoy this kind of content. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode of Name That Voice. If you want to dive more into this topic on your own, all of the sources are listed in the description down below, as well as the show notes of the podcast. I would really appreciate hearing you guys in the comments if you have any requests for study topics. Thank you so much for watching. As always, remember that you are loved, you are worthy, and whatever you are struggling with today will pass. Until next time, stay crazy!